This here is a double cab 79 series pickup that we are doing a big project on. I just wanted to demonstrate and show Toyota. I think a lot of people wonder why they can't have these in the US. And part of the reason, in my opinion, is that Toyota doesn't really build these trucks to US standards, okay? Look at the seam seal. So the wheel well has a nice coating. This is from Toyota, okay? And then we've covered it up now, but there's some around the number one body mount here on the firewall, because that's a real prone spot for rust. And then they seam seal this here along the firewall, and they seam seal, on the other side around the body mount, because those are areas that are pretty prone to rust. And then you come back here in the back. I mean, the seam sealer you see here, we just applied today. So there's no other seam sealer on this thing except for back here at the rear seats around the seat mounts, because you don't want those to rust out too fast in an area where there's salt, and then the rear seats can be dislodged or whatever. It's a safety concern. So they definitely put a fair amount of seam sealer around the seat mounts back here, but that and up front where I showed, that's it. Wheel wells, they do a pretty good job on the wheel wells, but that's it. That's all the rust proofing on the underside of this cab. And look at all the seams. There's tons of seams. And on top of that, they put almost no sound deadening in these trucks in the inside. So the truck sounded like this. Hear how tin canny that is? That's the fender. So that's how the whole thing, you tap on the doors when you get one of these brand new off the lot. They're like 125 grand or more in Australia. And that's what you get. There's no sound deadening in the doors whatsoever. There's very little on the floor and very little on the firewall, and that's all you get. Less than an 80 series from the 90s. And so anyways, I think that's part of the reason that, they don't bring them in the US, is they're just not up. If you paid 90 grand for this off a lot in the US, would you be happy with how tin canny it is? How little rust proofing is on it? I know I wouldn't. I mean, the roof, we've got half of it on the inside insulated, sound deadened, but you can see it's just a piece of tin. The front we're not done, and so it's just a piece of tin. So anyways, we've gone and done a big heavy sound deadening job. So I think that's kind of what Americans expect, to pay 100 grand for a truck, and it doesn't sound like a tin can. And we did all the floor too, so before I did the job, the sound deadening job, that sounded like a tin can. It sounded like that fender when you tap on it. So I think that people just who don't know these rigs and haven't seen these 70 series, they just don't really have a concept of what they are. And yeah, they're built extremely well and extremely tough. They'll last quite a long time in really harsh environments. But when it comes to what people expect in this country off the lot for that kind of money, it's just not there. And anyways, so I just kind of wanted to show that. Well, that's not a good example with the paper crinkling, but frickin' tin can, man. And not only that, it's super thin underneath. It's primer, and then it got a little overspray when they painted the body, but there's no paint, it's primer. And to try and save prep here, this whole underside of this truck was scuffed with a 400 grit, basically 400 grit. It's a red Scotch-Brite. And to make it a little faster, I tried to come in here with a DA sander with some 320 on it, and I turned the DA down to the lowest power, and I just touched that, and the paint's gone. I mean, it is thin, man, underneath. It's thin on the exterior too, but it's really thin underneath. And so I think people just don't really realize that about these 70 series, that they're not built, they're built as work trucks, and they're just not built, I think, to the standards that most US people would expect for the kind of money Toyota would need to get for these. So anyways, wanted to show some of that. Wanted to show how when you actually do sound deaden it, it's a good deal. I mean, she's going to be quiet on the road for sure, but it took a lot of work, and it doesn't come that way from Toyota. So anyways, we're going to do a little bit more. We got another couple stages we're going to do underneath this truck come tomorrow to finish all this kind of off. We're doing kind of a combination underneath of, like, this is ceramic coating for heat. So we did it in the trans tunnel and we did it on the firewall, but the rest of what we're doing underneath this truck is for rust proofing, because it's already got a real heavy sound deadening job on the inside. It doesn't really need it underneath, but I don't want to see my customer, even 15, 20 years from now, this thing rotting out underneath because, you know, he lives in a coastal environment or takes it to the coast or drives it on to the ski hill, and Toyota just didn't do the job that would make it last that long in those kind of environments. So we're going ahead and doing that kind of thing to it. So there's one last thing we'll finish off with the hollow areas, and I'll be showing that in the build thread for sure. But that'll be our final once we're all done underneath. So anyways, there's your wrapped up 79 series we're working on.